loves and lovelies. Captain Edward von Arkham here, coming to you from on board the MHS Hysteria. We've been all over the time stream recently, so I may be wrong, but I do believe it's time for Madman of the Month. Oh, that's new. This month I honor a man whose love of adventure is only matched by his love of mad wagers. The utterly incomparable Phileas Fogg. A remarkable dandy who, in 1872, set out to do something which at the time was unimaginable. He made a wager for £20,000 with the London Reform Club that he could circumnavigate the world in no more than 80 days. I love the daring conviction in a wager like that. The Reform Club thought he was absolutely crackers, but he had done the math. On the 2nd of October, 1872, he left London by train, accompanied by his valet, Passepartout. Fogg had planned to travel from London to Suez, to Bombay, to Calcutta, to Hong Kong, to Yokohama, to San Francisco, to New York City, to London. They reached Suez bang on schedule, but while they were waiting to transfer ships, they were spotted by a Scotland Yard detective named Fix. He was on the watch for a bank robber, and because Fogg just happened to fit the description, he began to follow him. They set out from Suez en route to Bombay. While on the voyage, Fogg promised the engineer a reward if they reached Bombay early, which they did. Once there, they boarded a train bound for Calcutta. However, halfway there, it occurred to Fogg that the railroad only went as far as Colby. Not easily discouraged, Fogg promptly purchased an elephant and a guide and started off towards Allahabad, where the railroad began again. On their way, they stopped to rescue a young Indian woman named Aouda from being sacrificed by Brahmins. She gratefully joined them on their journey. They caught the train from Allahabad and reached Calcutta. However, before they could board the steamer for Hong Kong, they were arrested by Inspector Fix, who had followed them all the way from Suez. Not easily discouraged, they jumped bail and made it just in time to catch the boat to Hong Kong, still being tailed by Inspector Fix. Once there, Passepartout was detained by the inspector, but managed to escape once again and catch the steamer for Yokohama. However, Fogg was a day late and missed the ship. Eager to make up for lost time and find his missing valet, Fogg found a train to take him and Aouda to Shanghai, where they transferred to a steamer bound for Yokohama. Once there, they found Passepartout, who had joined a circus in order to pay for his trip home. Reunited, they boarded a steamboat to take them to San Francisco. They crossed the Pacific without delay. On arriving in San Francisco, they caught a trans-American train to New York City. However, the train encountered several little obstacles, including a herd of bison, a failed suspension bridge, and, of course, a band of vengeful Sioux warriors. Fogg managed to separate the locomotive from the carriages, but Passepartout was carried off by the Native Americans. Not willing to part with his friend again, Fogg joined forces with some American soldiers and rescued Passepartout. They continued on a wind-powered sledge that took them to Omaha, where they caught a train to New York City. However, upon arrival, they discovered that they had missed the boat by 15 minutes. Desperate to make his deadline, Fogg found a ship bound for Bordeaux and bribed the crew to mutiny and take course for Liverpool. However, the ship was faced with furious hurricane winds, and going on constant full steam, it ran out of fuel. Still possessed of unbreakable conviction, Fogg bought the ship from the captain and had the crew burn all the wooden parts to fuel the steam engine. They made it to Queenstown, Ireland, where they caught a train to Dublin and a boat to Liverpool, and were just about to catch the train to London when Inspector Fix caught up with them and arrested Fogg again. But soon enough, the real bank robber was caught, and Fogg was set free. On the home stretch, Fogg and company jumped on the train to London. However, Having been delayed by Fogg's arrest, they arrived 5 minutes late for the deadline. Or so they thought. In fact, they were a day early. Having traveled east, the party gained an entire day by crossing the international dateline. Realizing this, Fogg dashed to the Reform Club, where he won his wager. Having left London on October 2nd and returned on December 21st. 80 days later. Fogg's daring nature and unbreakable determination make him a madman to be revered. And the only man to ever beat me at whist. Well, that's our time for today. I'm off to look up the meaning of the name Passepartout. Until next time, stay mad, my duckies. And the final however count is 7.